The Master Sword, the blade of evil's bane, capable of smiting any and all types of evil and demonic obstacles. A weapon that is bound eternally to the one who houses the spirit of the hero and the champion of Hyrule, Link. The Master Sword is indeed a very powerful weapon, but it has many other purposes. The Master Sword has acted as a key in many situations. The blade has guarded the portal to the Sacred Realm, locked away many terrible evils, and has the power to reveal and unlock sacred treasures and pathways. The impressive history of this sword is certainly one that can use some branding. HMK is here to detail and reveal the story of the Blade of Evil's Bane. This is the Tale of the Master Sword. The story begins with Skyward Sword. The goddess Hylia crafted the goddess harp and the goddess sword as her tools in order to protect the Triforce and cast down demons. After the ascension of Skyloft and the war's end, Hylia rested the blade in Skyloft along with its spirit, Phi, which will be left to be commanded by Hylia's chosen knight. Many years later, Link accepted the blade and his destiny to be Zelda and Hylia's chosen hero. At this point, the goddess sword is a powerful weapon, but it has impurities and cannot completely eradicate evil. During his quest, Link imbues the goddess sword with the flames of the goddesses, Din, Feor, and Nehru. After the final flame, the goddess sword becomes the Master Sword and has the power to repel evil. Once reunited with Zelda, the Master Sword is blessed and becomes the true Master Sword. The blade can truly eradicate evil and will always be bound to the hero. In the end, Link defeats and destroys Demise, and with his task completed, Link puts the Master Sword to rest in the Temple of the Goddess. The Master Sword is not reawakened until the events of Ocarina of Time, when the Kingdom of Hyrule is established after the events of Skyward Sword. The Sage of Light, Rairu, built the new Temple of Time over the old Temple of the Goddess, and used the Master Sword as the key to lock the portal leading to the Temple of Light, an extension, the Sacred Realm. The blade itself is guarded by a great stone wall, known as the Door of Time. This door can only be opened if one were to bring the three spiritual stones of the elements, Force, Fire, and Water, along with the royal family's treasure, the Ocarina of Time. When Ganondorf invaded Hyrule, Zelda instructed Link to open the Door of Time to protect the Triforce, which rested in the Sacred Realm. What Link found wasn't the Triforce at first, but the Blade of Evil's Bane. When Link pulled the sword from the pedestal, his spirit was sealed away for 7 years in order to mature enough to effectively wield the Master Sword. In this effect, the Master Sword not only acted as the Blade of Evil's Bane, but also the key that opened the path to 2 time periods. At the climactic battle with Ganon at the end of Ocarina of Time, the Master Sword's fate is divided into 3 destinies, along with Hyrule and the Triforce. After Link defeats Ganon, he places the Master Sword to rest and returns to his original time from before the invasion of Ganondorf, and helps the royal family avert this dastardly takeover. Many years afterwards, in the Child Timeline, the Master Sword answers the call of duty once again in Twilight Princess. Link is cursed with a strong evil magic that originates from Ganon, and Zelda instructs Link in order to find the sacred grove in which the ruins of the Temple of Time lay, and an extension, the Master Sword. The blade's power is used to purge the dark magic from Link, and Link claims the sword for himself. When Link finally reaches the Twilight Realm, he infuses the Master Sword with the light of 2 souls from the realm, which each contains the power equal to the sun from the light world. With this great power, Link uses the Master Sword to cut through the darkness and get to Zant, who then reveals that the true enemy is indeed Ganondorf. After the final battle, Ganondorf's life is ended by the Blade of Evil's Bane, and the sword is once again put to rest and has not been called upon in this timeline since. When Link returns the Master Sword to the Temple of Time at the end of Ocarina of Time, the timeline when he was an adult continues without him, and Hyrule is flooded once Ganondorf returns, but Link does not. In The Wind Waker, Ganondorf is searching for the Triforce of Wisdom and Courage, and needs to be stopped. The King of Red Lines tells Link he needs to acquire the Master Sword, which now rests in the sunken Hyrule Castle. Once Link gains the blade, he challenges the master of the Forsaken Fortress, only to find the sword no longer has the power to smite evil. As it turns out, before the events of the Wind Waker, Ganondorf murdered the two sages of Wind and Earth that were responsible for keeping the Master Sword in prime evil-killing condition. Link restores the Master Sword to its former glory by locating and awakening the descendants of the sages, Medli and Makar. Link then challenges Ganondorf atop his tower in the midst of the Second Great Flood and slays him. The Master Sword is thrust into his skull and stays with the fiend in the sunken Hyrule and hasn't been heard of since in that timeline. Aside from the adult and child possibilities, there is also a timeline where Link falls in battle and Ganon claims the Triforce. After the imprisoning war, Ganon is sealed within the Sacred Realm, which has become the Dark World. Many years later, in A Link to the Past, a wizard named Aghanim comes and terrorizes Hyrule. In order to stand against him, Link must come to wield the Master Sword, which now rests within the Lost Woods. In order to claim the sword, Link needs to prove his worth and must acquire the pendants of power, wisdom, and courage. After finally taking the blade, Link is ready to challenge Aghanim, who turns out to be an offshoot of Ganon himself. Before challenging Ganon, Link upgrades the Master Sword into the Tempered Master Sword with the help of the Dwarven Blacksmith, and then into the Golden Master Sword with the power of the Fat Fairy. With this fierce sword, Link strikes down Ganon and reclaims the Triforce. Link then returns the Master Sword to the Lost Woods. After a couple of generations, in the time of A Link Between Worlds, Link must call upon the power of the Master Sword again in order to break the dark barrier encasing Hyrule Castle. In the same manner years ago, Link acquires the Master Sword in the Lost Woods by using the pendants of the three virtues. After breaking the barrier and arriving in Lorule, Link then can upgrade the Master Sword once again into the Tempered and Golden variants, using Master Ores and the skills of Hyrule's and Lorule's blacksmiths. Link then uses the Blade of Evil's Bane to put a stop to Yuga Ganon and returns the Master Sword to the Lost Woods, where it rests in that timeline to this day. The story of the Master Sword is certainly a rigorous one, filled with facts, magic, and even discrepancies. Though it is said that Hylia crafted the blade's initial state, Zelda states in Twilight Princess that the sword was crafted by the sages of old. In A Link to the Past, they said that the Master Sword would never be wielded again, although this is proven wrong in A Link Between Worlds. There are clues in Skyward Sword that the sages may have assisted Hylia in crafting the blade thanks to the hieroglyphics in the Goddess Temple. The statement saying that the Master Sword may never be wielded again may have been an inaccurate statement. What we do know is that the Master Sword can be upgraded past the point of the true state, but all upgrades past that point fade once the Master Sword is returned to the pedestal. The Master Sword's power is kept in check by the sages and can erode if not taken care of. The blade can smite any and all evil, beings, magic, and properties. The Master Sword can repel and reflect any and all sorts of malevolent energy and magic. The Master Sword is bound only to those who carry the spirit of the hero, but there are times where the hero must temper himself and prove his worth before claiming the sword. Thank you for joining HMK on this journey within the stories of one of the most iconic weapons in all of video games and in fantasy itself. So, until the next tale, don't forget to subscribe to HMK, and I will check you guys later.